Well, good morning, everyone. Let me first of all introduce myself. Emeric Sohal. I am a professor in the Department of Management at Monash University. This is early morning seminar on our project Sparking the Circular Economy in Melbourne's manufacturing industry. And this seminar is part of a program of research funded by the state government through Sustainability Victoria. Before we start, Glenn, if we can go to the next slide. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia, and especially the people of the Kulin Nations. We recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Thank you very much, Glenn. So we are a team from Monash University in the Department of Management, Business School. Myself listed there, my colleague, Associate Professor Glenn Croy, who's going to be presenting and hosting with me this seminar, Daniel Pajogo, Christian Rotaru, Annie Bhattacharya, Elka Nand, and Tharaka Divas, who's our full-time research fellow working with us. This project is being conducted in partnership with the Southeast Melbourne Manufacturing Alliance, and the CEO is Wanda Fenwick. We're also supported by the Southeast Melbourne Networks, support provided by Sandra George, who works for the City of Greater Dandenong. And we thank again Sustainability Victoria for funding this project. So if I may go to the next slide, and Glenn, over to you just to tell us about the purpose and the agenda for today.
Thank you very much, Emeric, and thank you everybody for joining us on this session. What I want to do today is just to briefly outline what our purpose is and what our agenda is, and then to introduce what the circular economy is and give a bit more detail to both raise the awareness, but also to highlight the strategic importance of it. So today what we're focused on is to raise the awareness of what the circular economy is. And in particular, we're going to talk about the conceptual foundation, but more importantly, the practical understanding of it and what it means within business context. We're going to introduce the reasons why to adopt the circular economy practices and the benefits of doing this. And we're going to be using examples from some of the key businesses that we've been introduced to and interviewed through this project. From this, we're also going to provide some starting points for the circular economy adoption journey. So how you can start your own process, or at least have a look at some examples and some ideas about how others have started theirs, and then talk about some of the practices that could be adopted within your own business. So today we're focused on food and agriculture industry, and this is part of 4 sectors that we're going to, or that we're focused on within this project. And one of the reasons that we're focused on food and agriculture is because of the scale and the importance within the Australian economy. That we've got turnover from last year, which is in the billions of dollars for food, $116 billion, and agriculture, $150 billion. And this represents a large number of businesses, 15,000 food businesses, and almost 90,000 agriculture businesses as of 2020. However, and unfortunately, with that scale of business comes quite a lot of waste and loss. And so, for example, in 2020, we had 7.6 million tonnes of food waste, which equates to quite a significant amount per person, 312 kilos per person. And so what we see within this is, whilst the sector is very important, we're also seeing that the scale of waste and loss is also quite significant. And this is one of the areas that we would like to help businesses to reduce and to obtain value through this. And we're seeing that there's already some great stories within the food and agricultural area, where we're seeing degrees of recycling. 16% of food waste, for example, is being recycled already. And we're seeing the recovery as well of 2.9 million tonnes. So we're already seeing the beginning of this journey. And really these seminars and the follow-up workshops are about how we can help other businesses begin this journey and to progress further along it. So this leads us into what is the circular economy. And when we're thinking about the circular economy, quite often we see this as a transition from a linear model of make, use, and dispose to one that is restorative or regenerative. And this is from Ellen MacArthur, who's created a foundation based out of the UK. And what she notes there is that this restorative and regenerative process is by intention and by design. And this is what Andrew Egan, one of the people that we've interviewed, has also highlighted, that it's an approach that requires a change of mindset and a change of behaviours. To see us not as product producers, but as part of a process that by design, we're starting to restore and regenerate the economy. So within this process, what we see is that the circular economy is this move from that linear economy to one that exists across industries and has multiple connections between them. And I'll elaborate on this shortly. But very importantly, one of the key intents here is to minimize resource inputs and also resource waste. And this is through collaboration, not only within the business, but also across our supply chains. And this is done by slowing the input and the output from our supply chains, as in the waste and the inputs that would lead to waste, the narrowing of our supply chains, and also the closing of our resource loops. And the closing of resource loops basically means that what comes out of our production process feeds into somebody else's. And we want to do this through the regenerative systems. So in a more economic term, what we're looking to do is to maximize efficiency in resource use and to waste reduction so we can continue these supply chains. So a more pictorial representation of this. On the left side, we can see our biological materials. These are our natural materials. And rather than the linear, which is typified by the path through the middle of being able to farm or create our biological materials, we sell them to consumer, they use them, and then it goes to, the waste goes to landfill. What we're looking to do is to create these circularities or these loops which exist over to the left. And this means that instead of going to landfill, for example, the waste might go into other processes which create biofuels and the like, which then can be fed back into this process. On the right side, we see the technical materials, which are the man-made or the synthesized materials. And again, it's about making sure that we can gain as much value out of each of these rather than going through to landfill. So we again go through the aspects of maintaining, so repairing, for example, the materials by refurbishing them, fixing, but then also remanufacturing them to recreate them into the products, and then finally into recycling these products and services. And this is generally presented within circular economy loops, which are our short loops, our medium loops, and our long loops. More importantly for us, as to gain an understanding about what the circular economy means, is the second row of these points here, which are the circular economy practices, generally noted as the 10 R's from R0 to R9. Now, in the short loops, what we're focused on here is refusing, and refusing is relating to stopping wasteful or harmful materials entering into our production system. Reducing, which is about reducing the waste that we create through our production system. It's about the resale and the reuse. So by being able to take old products or old processes into our business and being able to embed them within our own production system. And then also about repairing. So having opportunities to repair the goods that we make and also to provide that repairing for the customers that we have. In the medium loops, we step it up a notch. And so in here, we're looking at refurbishing. So if a product has gone out, it's come to a point where it's towards the end of its life for that consumer, that we can take that back and we can refurbish it to resell again. We can remanufacture it by bringing it back into its component parts and recombining it for, again, reselling. Or we can repurpose it, which means that we take the end of life good and we take it in and we start and we create a new product from it. And then at the long loops, again, another step up is recycling, or the ability to recycle all the materials, to be able to potentially recover energy from those materials, for example, transferring waste products such as food waste into biofuel, or to remine. And generally within the remining, we see a very high technology basis here. So for example, taking the precious metals out of computers that are no longer in use. So this is a quick introduction to what the circular economy means, but hopefully also a basic introduction to what it may mean in practice within a business. I'll now pass it back to Amrik, who will talk about the research that we've done and also introduce some of the cases that we've been investigating.
Thank you very much, Glenn. So as I said at the beginning, this is a project funded by Sustainability Victoria and partly by Monash Business School. We have a team that also includes our partners from the Netherlands, which is regarded as a leading nation in the world that has adopted circular economy strategies and practices by businesses. And Diane Zandy is here with us, joining us in this seminar from the Netherlands. It's past midnight there. So thank you very much, Diane, for joining us. We have already put out a executive report that includes some of the results from our phase 1 of the project, which we completed at the end of last year. And phase 1 included an online survey and interviews with 25 businesses across Melbourne, mostly in the southeast Melbourne area. We have analyzed those interviews, and we have produced this executive report. If you haven't seen it already, please get in touch with us and we'll happily send you a copy of this report. This is the final phase that we are now involved in, which is a series of seminars that we are doing today, tomorrow, and 2 days next week, targeting on each of the 4 sectors. Today on food and agriculture, then we move on to textile, plastics, and general manufacturing. And we will finish with a morning 2 to 3 hour workshop where we're going to work with businesses and get them started on their journey to becoming a circular economy business. So today we want to present you very briefly what we have done, and really the purpose was to raise awareness and get you started thinking about what you could do as part of at least the short loop, where you can think about refuse and reduce and recycle at least. So Glenn, to the next slide, please. So one of the things, the 25 interviews provided us with substantial insights. We're not going to go through the results in any details here today. We will send you the report if you haven't already received it. Why do companies, start their journey and wanting to be a circular economy business? So we asked that question, and from the 25 interviews, the analysis, we've identified these advantages or benefits from the good circular economy practices that are adopted. So internal benefits to the company, this really relates to 3 areas there: upscaling themselves, being better known as a good company and caring about the environment and so on. Of course, economic benefits, reducing waste and so on, and improving efficiencies will lead to improved profitability for the company and creating a better culture. We've heard from the people that we interviewed, the companies saying, people want to work for our company. Customers want to deal with us. Employees are much happier. So those are sorts of internal advantages or barriers that our interviewees talked about. In terms of the external advantages or benefits, clearly relating to marketing and branding, you're recognized in the community and across your markets as a company that cares about using the right materials and being sensible in terms of making use of those materials and so on. And in the end, providing better products and helping to improve not only your business, but improving the whole local supply system, if you like, the supply network through working with your suppliers and your customers as well. So very quick look into why you should do this. Glenn, can we go to the next slide, please? We want to actually show you a short video, about 4 or 5 minutes long. And this is snippets of short interviews that we've done with the companies that we've interviewed. And they are talking about why they've started their journey. So a lot of questions we've been asked when we've been out there in industries, well, why should we do it? What are the drivers and what is involved? Over to you, Glenn, to start the video.
It's about the economy. It's about all of our economy, everywhere. It's about how we source, design, manufacture, utilize resources, and how we recover those resources and reutilize them. That's the economy, how we manage our environment around us.
Really about bringing our personal philosophy to the business, about being a sustainable business.
Definitely a personal desire to be part of the sustainability movement and to do it on a level that was much bigger than just an individual basis.
Part of the company DNA from 1983, utilizing the 3R of remand, reduce, and recycling, which was initially utilized to reduce the waste in components in vehicle electronics while capturing niche opportunity as a business.
Being resourceful and sustainable with your practices, again, it can result in economic gain. So turning your waste into value, turning your waste into worth, that is the win-win with the circular economy.
The way that we've designed our products has been with that whole sustainability and that whole circular life cycle in mind.
The benefits of the circular economy cannot be overestimated.
It gives me a great sense of pride to know that we've been instrumental in creating major reduction in waste.
Huge economic benefits. Profit and sustainability don't need to be mutually exclusive. In fact, we've found that by being resourceful and economical with our resources has resulted in greater profits.
We can get a financial benefit if we reincorporate them into our product.
We've saved a lot of money.
Cost down benefit of it, as well as the marketing benefits that ensue.
We're definitely seeing a major shift in consumer sentiment. If consumers are given the option of a business that does things sustainably and a business that doesn't, all things being equal, reports are showing that there's 70 to 80% of consumers that will actually go with the sustainable business.
It gave us some competitive edge compared to our competitors.
Our circular economy credentials provide an excellent marketing tool. It gives us a point of difference compared to our competitors. So people want to buy our products because they also believe in what we're doing. They like what we're doing.
For us, we're getting a lot more attention from a business to business commercial point of view and a lot more government engagement. So our impact not only on the environment, but also on others and the way that we can actually create things for others has been a massive benefit for our company, and the growth trajectory we're on at the moment is being stimulated by the recognition of our contribution to the circular economy.
Future-proofing the supply chain of minerals and materials already in circulation, thus providing an alternative solution for our customers of high-quality products at a reasonable cost.
I think one of the greatest benefits has actually been that we've built trust with our customers, and trust in our reputation that we are people who, the people that comprise the business are passionate about trying to make a difference.
An affinity with your patrons. The patrons really buy into the refillable bottle program. They also like to hear about the spent grain going to the farm.
We can feel the energy building within the business and beyond.
It makes us an employer of choice. So it's very good in terms of attracting and retaining employees.
We're seeing a real cultural boost within our team because they know they're doing good and they're doing things that are actually feeding into a system that recognises how well that they are doing in that the circular economy and the reduction of waste.
Our staff are more invested in our journey and are proud of the work that we're doing. They like working for an environmental sustainable company.
Knowing that actually the company they're working is actually doing something about the environment.
There's the clear environmental impact. So for us, it's about creating a greener planet and that everything we do contributes to that.
People want to know where their product's coming from. They want to know it's being produced in a sustainable manner. They want to know what's happening with their waste. A lot of big companies are doing environmental reporting now.
Very keen on the environmental principles, and also the key staff here were also very much environmentally conscious.
Businesses certainly influence other businesses to do similar sorts of things as well.
They've developed a progressive and they're tapping into that progressive thinking. So they're always working out ways in which they can contribute to the circular economy in a better way and coming to us with brand new ideas all the time. And
so while it might sound soft, that, you know, reputation and trust might seem like a soft kind of benefit, it has very real business outcomes.
It makes, again, economic sense as well as environmental sense.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Here are the credits, variety of companies, engineering, brewery, furniture company, and recycling company that handles timber pellets and so on. So you've heard about, the benefits and some of the things they're doing. So starting the journey to adopt the circular economy strategies and practices, that's what we are here to learn a little bit more about, and then to do much more in-person, face-to-face, interactive, engagement workshops, if you like, coming up in a couple of weeks' times. So the object, Glenn, am I okay to carry on here? Yeah, thank you. So the objectives of our workshops are really to guide businesses and their supply chains, to start their circular economy journey, and we want to, do that by reflecting on the experience of others, and we want to facilitate the adoption of, particular practices that relate to your business and to your industry. That's why we're holding separate seminars for the 4 different industry sectors and so on. And we want to demonstrate what can be achieved in the short loops by focusing on activities that relate to refuse and to reduce. So that's basically what our initial focus is on. Of course, there are companies that are further along their journey, focusing on R3, 4, and 5, and we'll pick up those experiences as well during our workshops, but primarily focusing on R0 and R1. So essentially, thinking about R0 and R1, in R0 refuse, we want to think about how we can, design or redesign processes to monitor and refuse inputs leading to waste. So there are good examples here in Melbourne, the companies that we've interviewed, where they say, hey, we're not going to accept, certain types of materials from suppliers that don't sort of even fit with their sort of, value system, or with their own processes and so on. Refusing to make use of specific hazardous materials or use virgin materials even. So always thinking about using materials, that are reusable and so on. Under R1, reduce, again, thinking about redesigning not only the products, but the whole system, if you like, including packaging and logistics, and the production processes as well, so that these processes use fewer materials, There is, absolutely no waste, if you like, and achieving high efficiencies, which means, there are no, non-value adding activities as well. Processes are highly efficient. There's no variability. Everything produced is good quality, and at the end of life of these products, we're also thinking about different options for these products and materials to be reused for other purposes. So we're thinking about, end-to-end supply chains and end-of-life options for circularity. And the focus really is on, designing and implementing, adopting processes, not only production, but, also some other processes as well that would reduce waste and increase efficiency, as we've already said. Next slide, please, Ben. And here is another short video. Again, the same people talking about, some of the things that they have done to achieve some of those outcomes.
Sustainability and circularity are a little bit different. And when it comes to contributing to a circular economy, it's the cradle to cradle concept that is a really important element that a lot of companies are missing. But the cradle to cradle concept, where you're creating a modular product or a modular process that can actually be redesigned, reused, redeployed, refurbished, that is the essence of that circular economy journey.
I mean, the first few steps were quite simple. Things that we were doing at home, we brought to the business. So it's quite simple, quite easy, really.
Wanting to be part of a movement is one thing, but ensuring that it makes business sense is another.
We looked at the value stream and pulling value through the supply chain to ensure that it's compliant and meets the highest standards.
Well, for the EV batteries, it was understanding the opportunity, the volume, and the technology to make it a possibility. As per any business ideas, the financial needs to stack up, and the return or benefit needs to be realized for a number of given years.
Our journey involved becoming as efficient as possible with the use of the major resource that we use in our pallet manufacturing division, which is obviously timber. In order to reduce our spend on timber, we began using recycled timber wherever possible. So, for example, if we're repairing 1,000 pallets, there might be 50 out of that 1,000 pallets that are beyond economical repair. They're too badly damaged. So we would dismantle those pallets. We've got specialized equipment to do that. And out of that 50 pallets, we might be able to produce enough timber to repair, several hundred of the repairable pallets. So it saves us a lot of money if we can reuse recycled timber rather than using new timber. It's less than half the price.
But more importantly, it's about the environmental benefit, which can be attributed to a set cost. For example, a 120 kilowatt hour BESS unit could save potentially of 42 tons of CO2 from a second application EV battery. So each of those CO2 cost saving has a cost value. And that's how you equate the benefit from that perspective as well.
For us, it was really about doing our market research and making sure that the market that we were creating, and we had to test again and again that there was a market for it. And for our particular product, we needed to make sure that not just the consumers that we wanted to use the product were happy to use it, that they desired it, that they wanted it, but we also had to make sure that the cafes and restaurants that support the use or the reuse of the product by facilitating the container exchange program, that they were equally as invested and happy to deal with the product.
Everything is led by design, and I'm not talking about product design. I'm talking about business process design. I'm talking about manufacturing process design. It was all about waste minimization. It all comes down to how well you design and plan your processes within your business and within your manufacturing.
First sought and achieved GECA accreditation. Process of getting the GECA accreditation, we had to change our manufacturing processes, and one first part was to implement product stewardship into our business model. So accepting the goods back and that sort of stuff. So it started with that, and then slowly started growing into other departments like materials, wherever possible, sending the scraps to supply and so on. So it's slowly expanding.
So the Product Stewardship Act looked at removing waste, maximising resources, reducing energy, reducing emissions at a product level across materials, products and services. So we've implemented from day one, we've implemented the principles of product stewardship, circular economy, which is design out waste, design for longevity, and design for recovery of resources.
Thank you so much, Glenn, and thanks to all of the people we've interviewed. They've been very, very willing, and you know, they've given time for the initial interviews and for these video sessions and so on. And we've visited quite a number of these companies as well. So our thanks to all of these companies. Here are some examples of refuse we've observed from these companies: only sourcing sustainability certified raw materials, for example, changing their procurement practices. Even large companies are spending a huge amount of money on changing their procurement functions and focusing on sustainable procurement and so on. Maximizing material sourced from Australian suppliers, so you have local supplies at hand. And we've also mentioned refusing hazardous materials, and particularly using plastic packaging that is sustainable. So refusing plastic packaging that is not necessary. And that's one area where there is a huge amount of waste. We see a lot of over packaging of products, especially in the food sector and so on. Of course, there are reasons, but often packaging isn't given enough thought, and products are over packaged, and that leads to considerable amount of waste. And examples in R1, reduce, again, ready to packaging made from Australian recycled materials. More and more of this is happening. Products that are designed for longevity. You know, it's not something that you make and you use for a short period of time. We are thinking about, you know, a much longer time period. And, you know, my experience is that's what happened in the old days. You know, we bought products. When I lived in the UK, you bought a good quality shirt, you know, that lasts you 10 years. Nowadays, you know, you're lucky if a shirt will last you 1 or 2 years. Saving energy, installing solar panels for renewable energy, using LED lighting and so on, using other technologies to reduce materials waste and cutting and so on. So automated cutting we've observed being used in many industries, including in furniture manufacturing and so on. Heat generation through burning waste and so on, that is now becoming more and more popular in many sectors. Of course, in the food and agricultural sector as well, and of course water collection, use of you know, electronic devices, forklift trucks and so on, and we already referred to reusable packaging and so on. So there's a huge amount of opportunity there for businesses to reduce, and we want to, through our workshops, we want to work directly with businesses, help them sort of, you know, assess what their current situation is and what can be done to refuse and reduce, and help develop a plan, if you like, for starting their journey. And that's what we'll be covering in more details in our workshops. Glenn? So do you want to talk about the initial steps?
Sure. Thank you, Amrit. So from today's seminar, what we want you to do is to think about these 4 initial steps, and then we're going to progress on to what the next stage in the process is going to be as to the workshops. So for these initial steps, I appreciate that a number of you are the top management team within your food and agricultural businesses, but it's to think about and discuss amongst the team about what is the circular economy and what are relevant practices that might be appropriate within your business context. So broadly, just opening up the discussion, starting talking about and adding circular economy into the conversation. The second one is to identify supply chain partners who might be able to take, or who will take, the circular economy journey with you. What are the suppliers that you have where we can create this conversation with, to again start emphasizing some of these elements about the circular economy practices. Third is to identify waste streams within the business and within the supply chain. So what are areas within the business that are creating waste, which is maybe going just to landfill or going out to other spaces, versus waste that may be able to be recirculated into other businesses or into other opportunities of value streams. And then fourth, consider which CE practices or circular economy practices might best fit within your business and with your key partners. So in these initial steps, largely it's about starting a conversation, thinking about who might be the key partners within that conversation, both internally and externally, thinking about what that conversation is going to be about, both within the waste, but also in the practices that could be adopted. So again, what we're emphasizing here is hopefully some very easy initial steps about starting conversations. In our next step though, after this, as Amrit highlighted, in a couple of weeks' time, we're looking to implement workshops. And what these workshops are to do is to facilitate the adoption of circular economy practices, and particularly at that R0, refuse, and R1, which is the reduce aspects. So I want to briefly introduce what we're going to be doing in these workshops and what the sort of outcomes we're anticipating will be from them as well. So each of these workshops are going to be action outcome orientated. We're anticipating that you're going to get very real outcomes, which you can then implement in your business and implement very quickly and easily. Through each of these workshops, there's going to be a high degree of interaction. And these interactions are going to be based on business to business interaction, but also with us as the facilitators. And through these activities, we're going to be developing activities, but importantly, practices that you can adopt within your specific business context. Also, as an addition to the practices that you'll have as an outcome, we anticipate that you'll also create a collaborative network of support. Other businesses that are starting the journey, you'll be there and you'll connect with these to create those networks which can support you, encourage you to continue on this journey. So each of these workshops, we're going to include a pre-workshop basic self-assessment. Now, this is a pretty basic self-assessment. Largely, it's to prime you to different thoughts and ideas and about different aspects of your supply chain and waste streams, so that we've got something to start with and work on within the workshop. The workshop will then start and we'll be allocating you into different groups based upon your basic assessment and the industry area that you're involved in. Our focus is going to be on R0 refuse and then R1. And through each of these, we're going to be both identifying the challenges, but also, and importantly, the opportunities to implement these beginning circular economy practices. We're going to present you with different examples of the supply chain change that other businesses have been adopted, which should prompt you with ideas for what you might be able to implement within your own business. We'll also talk about the different barriers and challenges that other businesses have faced, and importantly, how they've overcome those barriers to provide you with a change management plan or a means to not only start thinking about the practices that you'll adopt, but also enable you to persist with the adoption through any resistance or any barriers that are evident. And as such, at the end, we'll have an implementation plan for the practices specific to your business, which will hopefully be relatively easy to be implemented within that space. So as noted, there is going to be a bit of pre-workshop work. And again, I want to emphasize that this is both basic and it should not be time consuming. We're going to provide you with a template. Broadly, what this template does is it identifies which circular economy practices you've already been implementing, and you might surprise yourself with how many you are, or it might just be confirmationary that that maybe we're at the very beginning of our journey. We've also got a very brief survey about the awareness of environmental impacts and environmental practices within a business. And then we're talking about a basic assessment of your top 4 suppliers and your top 4 waste streams within the business. And again, this is a very basic assessment, which has the questions: what are they? Who are your suppliers? What do they supply? What quantity do they supply in? Are there any credentials or quality issues in regards to this? And are there any alternate sources that may be the use of reused or recycled aspects within that process? For the waste, again, what is the waste? How much waste? How much or how regularly is it created? What is done with it, and how much does it cost to dispose of that waste streams? Again, very basic assessments so that we've got a starting point to be used in the workshops. For our workshops, we've got 4. Now, these are going to be in-person workshops. So what we've done is we've looked to distribute these across Southeast Melbourne. And so we've got a workshop on the 26th of May in Kingston, a workshop on the 27th of May in Frankston, 1st of June in Monash, and the 2nd of June in Greater Dandenong. Now, these are not industry-specific workshops, but within these, we'll divide you into groups based on the industry and the circular economy practices and maturity that is being demonstrated. So there will be use and value within the networks available within these settings. Again, these are going to be action outcome orientated. They'll be for business-specific activities for business-specific outcomes. And again, we'll be emphasising this collaborative network of support. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a brief survey for you to complete, and the link is in the chat space. What we'd like you to do is just to complete the survey. What the survey asks you about is some basic questions about your circular economy awareness and the importance of circular economy to your business as of now or as of this session. But it also has 2 other questions, one for any other comments and feedback, and finally a fourth one, about if you'd like any further information, for example, the executive report, and for us to follow up with the workshop registrations. Through the registration for this seminar, you've already submitted your email address, and we'll also send out the registration form for the workshops through that process as well.
Can I add, Glenn, that in terms of the support being provided, you talked about the network of support that's being sort of established as part of the project funded by Sustainability Victoria. Very, very shortly, we'll be starting to develop a website where we will be uploading lots of resources, case studies, reports, papers from overseas, experiences from overseas, and that will at least run for a year, hopefully longer, that we can maintain as a resource for you. And we have plans in the making where we'd like to become, this is Monash University Business School, we'd like to become a sort of a resource center for businesses and their supply chains located in the Southeast Melbourne area, and hopefully carry on with some more collaborative research as well. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much, Emric. And again, thank you everybody for attending. We've looked to complete the seminar at 10:02 so that we know that many of you will have 9 o'clock meetings and the like. But if there's any questions or any other comments that someone would like to make, please do so.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you at one of the workshops. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.